Hey, this is Indie Movies 266, and this is the first video that I'm putting onto my channel. It's not really going to be about much of anything. Well, I'm going to be discussing or showing you stuff that it deals with a very important topic when you're making your movies called, you guessed it, you didn't guess it, but it's lighting. Lighting is the most important part of your videos. And if you can't light yourself correctly or the stuff that's in your scene correctly, you're not going to have a good movie. In this video, I'm going to show you some lighting setups that I've been experimenting with for some time. Hopefully you like it, and eventually I'll make a tutorial on how to actually set these lights up. Okay, this is my first lighting setup that I have. It consists of 4 lights, which I'm going to show a little later. This is me just experimenting with lights, trying to find what looks good. There's nothing really to say here. I'm just there's 4 lights. As I said before, it's the key light, the fill light, the backlight, and another background light, which I'm going to pull the camera out in a second and show you what it looks like. You can kind of see it up in the top right corner, the backlight. You'll see. Sorry, that's my brother. Sorry about that. Eventually, I wanted to see what happens when I add the lights that are normally in my basement. It was a really crappy result. It's too bright, and everything seems flat and two-dimensional. So yeah, it was a really crappy result. I hated it. So I went back to the light set that I was having before without the basement lights on, and I adjusted some lights, and it looked much better. It's very dark. The only thing I didn't like about this setup was that there's too much light coming from the backlight. I'll deal with it. Here's my light setup. That's the fill light, that's the backlight, and that's the background light, which is right next to it. And that's the key light. The light that's also lighting me acts as the background light too. Oh my god, look at that! There's no point of this, it's just me playing with the lens of the camera. So, just fooling around with the lights. I only have 1 light on right now. Now I have more lights on. Looks a little better, still a little flat, and too much shadow. So I start adding in more lights. The shot is pulled out so you get to see more than I want you to, but it's okay. Alrighty, so this is my second lighting setup. It's essentially chroma key. I'm using paper as the background, and Wally is going to be our character for this. Just positioning the camera correctly, and then I show you that I am using only, for now, the lights that are in my basement. Normally. So position the camera again. It's really crappy right now, if you were wondering what I thought of it. It goes on to looking like this, and in about half a second I add the other lights like I did here. And lower the exposure, and I get a nice shot. Then I start playing with it some more, adjusting the exposure and everything. Then I take out the lights that are in the basement and adjust the exposure again, like so. It's darker, there's not as much light around the edges. If you look at the top left part of the background, you see that. Then it's still there even when I add the exposure. And here's an important part. You see that there's little bits of blue reflecting onto the character, like its neck. See where its neck is? And under the eyes. And this can account for some problems that you have if you're trying to chroma key, which I'm going to make some tutorials on how to do this all at a later date. It just, it takes a while to make videos. Okay, so that's the backlight. I'm explaining the lighting setup. That's the key light. And there's Wally again. On the other side, we have the fill light. which is like an inch away from the camera, and then we have a light mounted onto an old tripod acting as the background light, and also the light for the top of WALL-E. Now, I must say that these lights are pretty much floodlights, and they'll light anything that's within somewhat in front of it. So because of that, you have to be sure that you light it knowing that in mind. Otherwise, you'll have too much brightness or too much darkness, and you have to move the lights closer and further. It becomes annoying, but you can always get diffusion paper, which I'll show you as again how to do at a later date. I have a lot of videos planned up. I just have to make them. So nothing really to say here. Now out of this shot, you see that, well, I did it. I didn't show you, but what I did is I added a few more lights to the setup, and it looked better. Now I'm just fooling around with the lights. Nothing really to see here. And this is about the end of the tutorial. Okay, we now reached the end of the video. Hope you liked it, and hope it gave you an idea to do something. I'm going to be putting tutorials on how to put these lighting setups up, how they work, and I'm also going to put another or a few special tutorials on how to... You should be looking forward to that because that is super cool.